Hello again. And so we make it to chapter 10 on Mark Manning's A Book at Bedtime, which happens to be Ideas Have Legs. Yes, I've brought my coffee with me. Sorry if I have to slurp it, but I need it. The story so far, if you have been listening, I don't know if some more of you want to out yourselves like the brave Heather and Peggy recently. So come forward. The comments below, we'd love to hear from you. Are you following along this? Are you one of a very select band, or should I say intrepid? And you're well able to endure, aren't you? Yeah, you're a strong band of people that have gone for this story. The story so far, the protagonist, the writer, is a guy, this is a real guy, by the way, since passed, called Peter Howard. Seems to start out life in the leafy suburbs of southern England somewhere. Is quite idealistic insofar as, he wants the best for his fellow men and justice to be done and stuff. Seems to also flirt a little bit with communism on that front. All men are equal, but of course we know some are more equal than others. Seems to be a bit of that going on, but a big bomb gets lobbed in it, which I think primarily is his ego. He likes to be noticed. He likes the good things in life. He has decided so far that on that front, democracy, to some degree, and commercialism provides him with the attention, the wealth, the good things of life that he seems to crave. And yet he's a bit of a hypocrite because he's not craving them outwardly. He's not going out there and being flamboyant. He is flying the kind of we've seen this. He's flying the social justice flag, but behind the scenes business is good and he's doing well out of it, and he does not, like a lot of these chicken shits, want to rock the fucking boat. See the way I get very animated about these things, because I'm seeing this guy, and yet I think, like everything in life, the boat will right itself and good will prevail. So we're at that kind of crossroads at the moment where he is aware of his own behavior, including having gotten married. Ostensibly, he's done the right thing. He's married a tennis player, a good lady, from a good family, and yet, because he's flirting with some of these modern ideas as espoused by people like Bertrand Russell, in terms of having a conscience, he is quite prepared to compromise his principles in some regards. It seems to be a little bit of perhaps extramarital going on, which he had seen before he got married, and he could see the hypocrisy in it. And now he's kind of at peace with himself, probably uncomfortably so, in his marriage. In essence, he's a good bloke and he wants to do better. He is his own best barometer. He's seeing that a certain way of thinking is not just compromising his principles in the kind of relatively small things of life, like, getting ahead and doing the right thing, but that kind of an attitude, that prepared to have to turn a blind eye, if you like, seems to be going on to a big degree in England, under the auspices perhaps of the appeasement end of things, because again, the establishment doesn't want to rock the boat. In tandem with that, there are two big ideas coming down like juggernauts. One is communism with Lenin and co. The other is fascism with Hitler and Mussolini. And at this point, he's saying, because principles are being compromised and corners are being cut and people are really out for themselves, they are prepared to look the other way and jeopardize the whole of society as is known to them. Have I resumed too much? Have I? I just thought I'd provide the story for you so far, because we have reached chapter 10. Forgive me again for slurping away there. Okay. So I shall reach for my spectacles, class, and I hope you're paying attention, particularly you at the back. Because statistically, I'll walk your ass into the ground more likely than the others if I catch you messing about. Okay, this is called What's It, and again, it's chapter 10. It's not What's It, it's What Is It? Bit of a difference. What's It used to be a kind of a crisp when I was young. They still have them, and it's kind of a cheesy tang off them. The scales fell away from my eyes. I saw both cause and cure of our troubles. I was reminded of the mystery of Rose. Rose was the name of my first lady love. She used to give me titbits from my mother's store cupboard. Once, it's a bit of a new subscriber. Hello, in real time. I know this is like it's a bit of a rookie's mistake, but Yard has subscribed. Welcome, Yard. We need more yards and feet and inches and stop messing, Mark. She used to once she popped a round pat of butter into my mouth. Like and subscribe, by the way. I won't interrupt anymore. When my nurse was not looking. I can still remember my feelings of terror and delight as I gulped it down. Also, Rose was able to balance herself on a bicycle without falling off and without moving forward. She lent adventure and fragrance to my childhood days. One morning men came and put straw on the street outside our front door. Rose was ill. My nurse told me that the straw was to prevent her from being disturbed by the clatter of hooves and the crunch of iron-rimmed wheels on the roadway. A few days later, Rose was taken away in a box to be buried. It was my first encounter with death. It was vivid, mysterious, and terrifying. I heard that Rose had been killed by something called influenza. The destruction of Rose by influenza seemed to me even more senseless and savage than the destruction of millions by the Great War, which was shaking the earth at the time. The newspapers were full of names like Hill 60, Passchendaele, and the Menin Road. They gave accounts of battles in which thousands lost their lives daily. But they said nothing about influenza, which had killed my poor Rose. The newspapers were wrong. Rose was one of the early victims of that wave of influenza which swept the world at the close of the Great War. Insidious, silent, hidden, and worldwide. It carried off more victims than the war itself. What is wrong with the world today? Some say that war is the cause of all the trouble, but the world was wrong before the war broke out. The end of war does not mark the end of all our troubles. Bit of dramaticism there, it's like that. The world is sick unto death. It is suffering from a disease. That disease remains unrecognized by the newspapers, although already its victims number tens of millions, and it is active in the hearts of every nation, including our own. It infects homes. Two young folk fall in love and marry. Both are decent people. Both truly intend to make a success of their life together. But before long, they are drifting apart. Either they separate or they stay together, nervous and irritable, bringing up a family in an atmosphere of bully and drudge. The disease infects business and industry. An employer takes on a new workman. Both men mean to treat the other well. The first day on the job goes splendidly, but before long, their relationship sours. The man says, There's not much work in this for me, bloomin' slave driver. The master says, he never does a stroke of work when my back is turned. On a larger scale, millions of workmen long to do a good day's work in exchange for a fair return. Thousands of employers want to treat their people as well as they can. These desires are genuine, and both could be realized. Yet somehow bosses and workers find themselves at the place where both sides organize to discredit and fight each other and spend half their time and energy in doing so. This disease causes situations where we have seen the fish shops in East London empty, while at Grimsby the trawler crews throw their catch back into the sea because they cannot find a market for it. In Europe, we have seen millions go short of food and miners on the dole, while in South America they use maize and coffee instead of coal as locomotive fuel. In Russia, peasants starve, while Canadian and American farmers are hard up owing to a glut of wheat which has depressed the world market. Finally, the vast majority of men and women in all nations hate war and long for peace, yet somehow the world goes to war again. All these are symptoms of this strange disease from which mankind is suffering. We all mean so well, yet somehow things go wrong. What is the common denominator of all these disasters? The two chief symptoms by which you can recognize the disease which has infected the earth are ingrowing eyeballs and itching palms. Ingrowing eyeballs make a man always see number one first before he sees his neighbours. Itching palms are always on the grab. The disease is commonly called gimme or get. It kills millions dead, though they do not lie down. It is the subtle philosophy, now worldwide, that makes men look for happiness in the wrong place. It is a search, restless, endless, for more and more of what does not satisfy. Like most diseases, gimme has a long Latin name. The name is materialism. According to the Oxford Dictionary, it is a way of life devoted to material interests. So, gimme is a way of life. It is not what we say, but how we live. It is a wrong attitude to things. In my own case, my attitude to money, personal advancement, and sex were wrong. There was nothing wrong with these things in themselves, but when my attitude to them became one of grab and gimme, I became part of the disease of the age. When my attitude to these things goes wrong, my desire for them controls and possesses me. Then that desire affects my actions. For fear enters in. Fear that I shall not get what I want, or that somebody else will take from me what I have. The fear is sometimes called greed. The trouble with materialism is that it never has worked and never will. It always looks attractive as a blueprint. When you put it on the road, it always crashes. It is based on the phony belief that men can run the world God made. God made the world, but he did not design it to run on the spirit of gimme. That is the spirit man has been trying to put into the engine ever since. So we get breakdowns. The signs of gimme are division, broken homes, lockouts, strikes, unemployment, race riots, wars, Also dictatorships, for materialism breeds two broad types of men. It breeds the softness, which will accept dictation, and the ambition which dictates. It breeds the apathetic individual, irresponsible, discontented, and inactive, who says all the time, "Why doesn't somebody do something?" It breeds the bitter, forceful, and ambitious spirit, which is out to smash the powers that stand in the way and to take control. In democratic countries, whose greatness was founded upon the conception of the equality of all men because their spirits have equal value in the eyes of God, who created them, materialism pursues an additional strategy. It appeals to man's love of comfort and ease. It tells him that everybody is selfish, that you have to be selfish to get along. It says that anything a man enjoys is the right thing for him to have. So men and nations become less equipped, morally and physically, to resist the challenge of aggressive materialism, whether of left or right. They prefer peace at any price to the strenuous spiritual warfare, which is the price of lasting peace. Soon they come to prefer peace for moral principles. Throw a dog a bone of somebody else's territory to keep it quiet, they say. So, materialism, which makes the dictator nations formidable, makes the democratic nations feeble. For the isms are the children of materialism, but democracy is the child of a Christian faith. Materialism is meat for one, but poison for the other. Materialism inevitably causes dictatorship and war. When all men are on the get, chaos results, and the strong man steps in. Men on the get bump into each other. So do nations on the get. The world once more crashes to disaster. Did you hear about the flight attendant who stood too close to the propeller? Disaster.